Welcome to the Rialto Marketing Podcast. Today's episode is a revenue acceleration series interview where we talk to seven-figure B2B business owners and their growth-focused executives who are actively trying to grow their business and get to the next level. We talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly so that you can learn from their experience. Hi, I am Tim Fitzpatrick with Rialto Marketing, where we believe marketing shouldn't be difficult and it definitely shouldn't be guesswork. Thank you so much for taking the time to tune in. I am super excited to have Joe Macchiarella with me today from Intellatrex. Joe, welcome and thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me, Tim. Appreciate the
Yeah,
invite.
yeah, of course. We got a lot to talk about. So I'm really excited to dig into this. Before we do that, I want to ask you just a few quick rapid fire questions if you're ready to jump in.
Let's do it.
Okay, man. So very quickly, what do you do? How long have you been doing
Ooh, how long do we have?
it?
So what I do today is vastly different than what I've done, earlier on in my career, of course. I've been doing it a long time, 25 plus years in general in the IT space, some level of IT. But currently, what I'm doing is I'm leading a network monitoring software company called Intellatrex. It's where we monitor networks and we identify issues proactively. We empower these MSPs to manage service providers. We
Yeah.
empower them to take quick action, reduce their repair times, et cetera. Just bring a lot of intelligence into their world, and that's the rapid fire response.
Cool. And what's the most important lesson you've learned in running your business? There's so many, hard to choose, but
Yeah, that's a really good question. So much could be answered there. If I had to pick one thing overall, it'd be two things. They kind of go together. Um, the resiliency and the discipline that it takes to grow your business. It is really tough going from startup world or low revenue world and to hit that growth model, hit that growth
yeah,
path. It's there's a lot of there's winning, there's a lot of winning in that, and there's a lot of losing in that.
yes,
But that's where the discipline and the resiliency comes into place, because it's not you it's not a loss. You didn't lose. It's an attempt, right?
yeah,
It's an attempt, and you only lose if you stop trying. And
yeah,
and as long as you just hit that grind every day, and you're doing the reps and you're doing the work, luck will find you.
yeah. Yeah, it's if it was easy, everybody'd do it, right?
That's right. Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Everyone thinks it's all glamour and gold. Oh, you run a business. It's great. You're the boss. You call the shots. You can do whatever you want. And there's truth to that, of course, but there could always be two truths in the same thing. And the other truth is it's a lot of work. It's a lot of hours. There are sleepless nights. There's
yeah,
there's worry, anxiety, and then there is glory when you
yeah,
start hitting strides on stuff. So
yeah.
a lot, it's an emotional roller coaster, but at the end of the day, it is fantastic when you start seeing that success.
Yeah. But do you have any kind of mantra or something motivational you say to help yourself or share with your team when you do hit those roadblocks or hurdles?
Not a mantra, so to say, but it's more about perspective that I bring to them. It's hard doing hard things. Anything, and so many people are so, they're so risk averse, right? And it's really difficult for people to get out of their comfort zone. And I try to remind people to get comfortable with being uncomfortable, right? And
Yeah.
anything, yeah, there's risk here. Yeah, it's going to be hard. Yeah, it's going to suck. Embrace the suck. That's
Yes.
what you
Yeah.
have to do. Embrace the suck and let it fuel you to figure it out and get it done.
Yeah.
That's not so much a mantra, but really just perspective on anything that is that is worth doing has risk to it. And the
Yeah.
bigger the risk, the bigger the reward. And it's just about calibrating them and bringing them perspective on what it takes. I got many stories around that, that my team has been able to rise above and prevail in many, many different situations and
Yeah.
current and past experiences.
I read something that this kind of reminds me of a few weeks ago, and the guy said, like, do the things that have short term pain but long term gain. So many of us do the things that have short term gain, but they don't really benefit us long term. Um,
Yeah.
it just a good reminder, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, and people want to do the easy, right?
yes,
Because
yeah,
it's just wired in your brain that when I get stuff done, I feel good about myself,
yeah,
and the more things I could get done, I feel better and better about myself. And a lot of people, it's very common to drift towards the easy because I can go chop that tree down quick and get all
yeah,
this easy tasking done, and I feel great about myself at the end of the day. My perspective on everything is, and maybe I'm a weirdo and I'm just wired different, but do the thing that sucks. Do the thing you hate to do. Do it has to be done. You're not doing something that doesn't have to be done.
yeah,
And to your point, for the short-term gain, you have to do the things for short-term gain, but do the thing that sucks the most and just do it with gusto. Do
yeah,
it, pretend like you love it. And you can rewire and trick your brain into doing these awful, what you perceive as being awful, hard, horrible things, and actually enjoy doing
yeah, yeah. So I want to break this down a little bit. Trextel was the company that you owned before IntelliTrex, right?
That's correct. Yeah. So we
Huh.
started out as a full blown integrator, MSP, total turnkey shop for hardware, managed services, and then the software component, the monitoring
Yeah.
component.
Okay, cool. Thank you for that. That gives people some perspective. So there was a point where you decided to split Trextel into three separate companies. Um, here's what I want to know. What were some of the biggest marketing and sales challenges you faced during that transition, right? And how did you tackle that? Give us some background there.
Yeah, so my partners in the business, who were the original founders, we all decided, like you said, we got to the point where we decided that we were going to move forward and start getting into, start divesting ourselves of the one-time type revenue, right? The installations and et cetera, the professional services, all that one-time revenue, and start focusing on 100% recurring revenue, which was the managed service and the software.
Okay.
And it's kind of like a Texas two-step, right? Because then we got away from the managed services into just software. So
Yeah.
we've had, we've had a couple challenge points, right? Um, and one of the and this is just from my perspective, right? They may have other inputs, but what I have experienced in this journey is one of the hardest problems is going from an old business to a new business with the old way of doing things, right? And sometimes the old
Yeah.
people, right? The old way of people, not old people, but the way you sell a full bundled service is way different than you sell a managed service, which is way
Yeah.
different than you sell a a software service. And how you
Yeah.
manage these worlds customer experience wise is way different too, in
Yeah.
a managed service world versus a software world. So and the buying process, that is a challenge in itself as you make these leaps into these different, your different personas now, your different company makeup, going from a full blown to an MSP to a software. The buying process, how people buy has not changed. I mean, it's obvious you need decision makers and et
Hmm.
cetera, right? Like how people buy has not changed. Why they buy has changed. And then why do they buy within your sliver that you're offering is different as well.
Did
Um,
you also, but so was the main driving decision to split them um, because they were so distinct?
it was more of a business decision to focus on recurring revenue.
Okay.
And just like any business owner, or most business, you do have lifestyle business owners out there that just want to run their company forever and ever and then hand it down to their children and et cetera. Like
Mhm.
you do have those one-offs, right? But most business owners out there, they're in it to raise valuation of their company and one day have a successful exit, right?
Yeah.
And not have to work forever. That's the goal for a lot of people out there.
Yeah.
So and that was no different than our goal was to let's build the value of this thing as much as possible. Because one day we don't know when, but one day we are going to have a successful exit on it, and that's that the higher valuation you get is on recurring revenue,
Yeah.
and then even higher when it's when you're a software company, because now you're hitting just incredible financial targets. You're hitting what's called a rule of 40 plus.
Yeah.
You do better than a rule of 40, and your valuations now turn from an MSP type company or a full blown installation integrator MSP, all the above that we were. You go from I don't know, anywhere from a 3 to 5x at best case scenario,
Yeah.
and you go into the software world and you're north of 10x, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
and that's the thought process that was in play, amongst a lot of other things, as we went through that whole strategic process of where do we see ourselves 3, 5, 10 years from now,
Yeah.
way back when we started the whole journey.
So do you still own those other two companies or did you sell those?
We do not. We have sold them. Yeah,
Okay.
so we broke them out. We made so one big company,
Hmm.
150 plus people or whatever it was. And then we broke it out into an installation pro services type company, like an actual company.
Yeah.
And then we ran the rest of it, the managed service and software, under Trextel.
Okay.
So then we went and sold the professional services installation company, and that was in April of 22, and then in March of 24, we went and formed officially IntelliTrex. That's the name of our software as well. So
Okay.
it's always been
Yeah.
IntelliTrex. It's just we formed the actual company IntelliTrex
Yeah.
2 years later, and then sold the managed service business, and we focused on the
Uh,
software now.
yeah.
Yeah,
So now it's 100% IntelliTrix.
100% IntelliTrex.
It's interesting. I mean, like, this is a big decision. This is not an easy decision
Yeah,
to make, but as an outsider looking in and thinking about it from a marketing and sales perspective, you kind of touched on this. Man, it's really hard to market and sell a company that is doing things that are that distinct and diverse. The audiences are different, the messaging is different. Y- the process that they that you the sales process, there are similarities, but there are differences there, right? And so um that makes it really, really difficult to do that all under one umbrella.
yeah,
Did you find when you were when it that if that was the case, did you find that uh, that was the
yes.
challenge?
Yeah, very much challenging. Marketing is very challenging. Sales, like you called out, it really is, especially when you're shifting focus.
Yeah,
And what we discovered is what it's very similar to other models people have done out there, is more of the flywheel effect. It's and it's kind of old school when you think about it a certain way. Land and expand. Everyone talks about, we're going to land and expand. We're going to land
yeah,
and expand, right? Well, what does that mean? And typically, it's we're going to go land in a market and expand in that market. we're gonna go a foot wide and a mile deep, right?
Yeah.
In a specific market. Well, our approach is not market specific because we're software. We could offer service really anywhere. And we're not really focused on a market. Where we're focused on is who benefits the most from our software. So it really requires you to figure out what are your value props, and really what I found is very successful is not selling your product or service. What you're doing is you're selling a solution for their pain. You're selling a
Yeah.
solution, for whatever challenges they may be having, right?
Yeah.
And it's a challenger type sales approach, to where you're selling towards pain. And oh, by the way, we solve it with our product and service, and here's how it works. So
Yeah.
you kind of do it in a different fashion, but also flywheel effect. Instead of going after all these enterprises, individual companies, that's very hard, and that's a very long pole in the sales process,
Yeah.
time. And we, as this new, even though we weren't startup, we were, because we were starting a new company, a new brand,
Yeah.
all that, new everything. But we had to get volume and velocity to what we had to do, and that's very difficult, hitting those individual brands. So we said, okay, who services these brands that need that service? Well, it's managed service providers. So again, a lot of
Yeah.
strategy, a lot of think tanking goes into this stuff to figure out, where is my ideal customer profile. That's very key in it. And our ideal customer profile we identified is the managed service world, and telecom expense management companies as well fall into that bucket, but it's predominantly managed service providers. And because they have all the logos behind them, and they have credibility with these companies, they have trust, and all the reasons why people will buy from you,
Yeah.
they've already established that. So we go land and expand in an MSP.
Yeah.
We go in, we show a proof of concept, we show them that our stuff does what it says it's going to do, and they see the benefits from it. It solves pain points, and they just go and start unleashing it
Yeah.
in their ecosystem, and that creates the flywheel effect. That try to create the phone ringing in
Yeah.
versus all this cold outreach and all that.
So you guys have, rather than focusing on the enterprise space, you're focusing 100% at this point on the MSP channel, leveraging MSPs to then sell IntelliTrex to their client base, right? And integrate it as part of their tech stack.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Um, which to me makes a ton of sense. And what's interesting too is, you owned an MSP, so you know exactly what they go through, right? So
That's right.
I think it's a great move, because you were an MSP, you know how to speak that language, right? You understand the space. So rather than going into a new market that you may not have a ton of experience with, you're leveraging past experience to drive things faster and more efficiently than they would be in the enterprise space,
That's right.
right? Which is, yeah, it makes tons of sense why you did that.
And don't
One
get
of,
me wrong, we've tried, it took figuring out to do this, right? We
yeah,
we did market testing, right? We did a lot of interview calls. I mean, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of calls, and interviewed people, and we tried different approaches. We did, do test campaigns around enterprise and MSP and all these different flavors. And that's where the whole failing, comes into play. and
right.
and don't worry about failing, because you don't fail unless you quit attempting. So,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
and then we found what works.
yeah. Joe, you mentioned that you had a lot of conversations to validate product market fit for IntelliTrex. What kind of insights from those calls most changed what you were originally assuming about the market? What did you learn as going through that process?
Well, lots of things. Going so to your earlier point, we were experts in the MSP space,
Yeah.
and that could hurt you a little bit because it could cloud your judgment on why and what people will buy, right?
Yeah.
And even though we're experts in that space, and we know handle time is an issue for MSPs,
Yeah.
and it sucks for their customers when handle times are bad and average times to respond and repair trouble tickets and all that, and we knew that was a pain point. And just going in with a message like that alone, not everyone's going to experience that. Like some MSPs, they know that their handle times have increased, but they're still manageable, right? And so
Yeah.
that message is not going to resonate. So you have to have different stuff in your arsenal to hit people with, and that's where, so to your point, what was out there that we started learning that had different value to it. One big thing we learned was, as we did our research, is hey, we're far more cost effective than the other solutions out there,
Yeah.
and we're not all the bells and whistles of these massive type of software network software monitoring solutions, but we have the features that these MSPs need at, oh, by the way, the price point that they'll find extremely attractive. Because what we identified is in these calls and conversations and interviews that we were doing is 80+% of them out there were not leveraging all the features and functionality of the software that they currently had,
Yeah.
and we had everything that they needed, right? So now when you could come in and start hitting people with a message of, if you make the switch to Intel, and it's obviously more buttoned up than this, but
Yeah.
if you make the switch to IntelliTrix, you could instantly boost your profitability, because here's what's going to happen. Now this is where the conversation could really take off. Hey, you're not going to change your price point to your customers, so your cost point has now went from, let's just say, $9 per endpoint monitored down to
Yeah.
$4. You just instantly boosted your profitability.
Yeah.
And now
Yeah.
that starts raising some eyebrows, especially in the economic world we've been in here, for quite a few years, of people trying to save as much money as possible, right?
Yeah.
And now more than ever, people were trying to find ways to save money and boost their profitability. So that message started hitting. And there's other, when you start talking about features and other functionalities that the platform has that aligns with pain points they're experiencing, you can start messaging towards that. So
Yeah.
there's been a lot of different things that really bubble up into that. It's not a one size fits all type messaging
Yeah.
approach. You have
Did
to
you
have
hear? Did you
different
get like
instances.
snippets of language that they shared with you where you were like, that's that's great. That's something, that's a snippet we need to leverage.
Yes. Things like talking to one of our, prospects who turned customer, and others too. We started hearing it a little bit more. Was, man, I got this alert fatigue. Oh, tell me more
Alert
about that.
fatigue. There you
What's
go.
a,
Yeah.
what's alert fatigue?
I love it.
We're getting drowned in these alerts that we don't know which end is up, and we're wasting time on ghost tickets. Oh, ghost tickets, as another one, right? And now we start
Yes.
picking up. We hear common language being used amongst these prospects and customers, and now we start applying that
Yeah.
into other outreach, and it's immediate hit. Yeah, alert fatigue. That's a real thing. These guys know
Yeah.
what they're talking about.
Yeah. And it's when your messaging can shift into their language, that's where it starts to really resonate, right? Because they're like, oh my God, yeah, alert fatigue. Like I was just thinking about alert fatigue the other day, or we were talking about it the other day, right? They're like, oh my God, IntelliTrix gets us,
Yeah.
and there's so much great information that can be gleaned from having conversations like this, and especially now, like so many people overlook it. You record those calls. Now you can take those transcripts, pop them into AI, and AI can analyze hundreds of those calls and pull out all of this stuff so fast, um, and so accurately. You got to take advantage of having that data and
Yeah,
leverage that
yeah.
data to drive the decisions that you make.
That's one great thing that we did in this process is was leveraging AI, through one of the sales tools that we were using in our outreach, and recording all the calls and all that, and picking up on all these key indicators, and we were able to, as we went through the product market fit testing, we were able to get all this data and start to get those where you don't have to listen to every call now, right? You
Right.
don't have to. You could just, you could put in there triggers for, if we learned the phrase, ghost ticket, okay, where else is it being said?
Yeah.
Or tell me the most repeated phrases or whatever. So we
All
were
of
we
it.
were getting a lot of good intel from the platform, we were paying for, as third party, but we were leveraging it, which had AI embedded into it, which was giving us all this information.
Yeah. So much good stuff there. And well, you won't necessarily know because you did the interviews up front, but I am sure that helped save you time and help you get to where you are right now faster than you would have otherwise. Um,
Absolutely. Yeah, we
y-
failed fast, and
yeah,
and we just kept pivoting and pivoting and pivoting, refining. Like we didn't stray from our strategy, but we just kept refining it, refining it, refining it until we wound up walking into that flywheel effect.
yeah,
And that gets back to the earlier point, when we kicked off here, is do the work, stay true to the grind, do it with gusto, and luck will
yeah,
find you.
yeah,
It just, I mean, everyone who's been successful in business has walked into luck at some point, which has got them to where they be. Some
yeah,
people walk into huge luck, like a Warren Buffett, right,
yeah,
and gets there, and then there are other people that make a great living and great life for themselves by walking into smaller luck, but you still walk into luck, and it works out really successful for you.
yeah. Looking back on your journey and taking Trextel, splitting it up and selling two parts off and just going all in on IntelliTrex. What's one marketing or growth decision that you would say, man, I would definitely do that same thing over again, and one that you'd be like, I'd do that differently. What sticks out?
The partnerships, the whole flywheel, land and expand, do it over and over again.
Yeah,
And there's other ways to slice that up too. There's way more than just landing with a partner that doesn't cost you anything, but getting contracted, et cetera. But there are other partnerships that you can get into that actually require financial contribution, but they could be very lucrative if you know what you're doing within that channel, right?
yeah,
So learning how to sell within a channel and then expanding into what would be perceived as a more riskier channel, but for you it's not risk because you've already proven you can do it in other channels, right? It's just a
yeah,
matter of getting in there and rinse and repeat, right? So that, the marketing component, I would have to say, and this is just personal, right? Personal, perception is I would absolutely outsource marketing, um, just because it just gives you a lot of flexibility, and not only that, the cost effectiveness of it as well,
yeah,
not having to go hire your own massive marketing machine internally, which is going to be outrageously expensive.
yeah,
Could work, and it has worked for many people before, don't get me wrong, but in today's day and age, with technology and everything at our fingertips and all the AI stuff out there, and outsourcing your marketing makes a lot of sense. That's something that I would absolutely encourage folks to do. In our old world and previous worlds, even before I was with Trextel, sunk a lot of money into marketing
Yeah.
internally, and it was that was a challenge in itself. And wishing you had those avenues you have now back
Yeah.
then could have saved a lot of money
You
and
know,
got you
it's
more traction. Got you more
yeah.
traction too.
It's
Yeah.
it's interesting that you bring that up. Well, I mean, selfishly, I'm like, hey, Joe, thanks for saying that. Uh, but it's one of the because outsourcing can be very efficient. Um, One of the biggest pitfalls I see a lot of people make when they outsource is, they'll outsource to an agency thinking like, I'm going to get everything in one place, right? And the reality most people find is that agencies are great at, implementing the work and, and doing the day-to-day tactics, but you still need to manage them, and you still need strategy. You need strategy and somebody leading
Sure.
your efforts. Agencies are not going to do that. And so
That's right.
if you don't have that internally, that's something that you need to outsource as well. Because they really do need to be separate. Because there's plenty of people I talk to who are like, I just hired an agency. I'm good. Like I'm absolved of all marketing responsibility, and that never turns out well. So it can be efficient, but you gotta make sure that you've got all your bases covered, because typically you're not going to get it from
That's right.
just one place, right?
That's right. You will have different arms in the marketing outsourcing. To your point, there's a strategy piece, and then you have your website content
Yeah,
and et cetera, right? The website, so to say. But then you have your marketing outreach, and then you have who's going to manage your LinkedIn, who's going to manage your Twitter and this and that, or X, now, or whatever
yeah,
it is that your footprint out there. You may have two, three, four different marketing legs
yeah,
out there managing your stuff. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I love it. Joe, thank you for taking the time, man. Before we wrap up, I want to ask you one last question, which is, knowing what you know now, is there anything you would do differently?
Oof.
Ha,
What would I do differently? I would say the biggest thing that I would do different is I would make, and this is going so anyone, I'll give you two perspectives here. So one, anyone that's going through the same journey that we have went through, transitioning from an old
yeah,
world into a new world and doing something different, I would definitely make the decisions faster on identifying the people and the things that you need to be successful, because you will burn a lot of time, a lot of money. It will slow it will keep you from getting momentum quickly if you're trying to, save people, or if you're trying to, save the old way of doing business, so to say, like that. You got to be all in it. You got to be willing to
yeah,
change. And if people are willing to change and make that quick change, that's a different story. But when you're making a big shift, you got to be able to move quickly and make quick decisions. And we made many quick decisions in many other ways, and we really got the best momentum is when we just said, here is how we're going to march forward, and here is the personas that we need in order to start moving the needle.
yeah. I
So,
love it.
yeah, that. And then I would say for anyone that's just starting a business or trying to grow a business, they haven't gone through this whole transformational shift that has to happen. I would say the biggest thing there is invest the most into generating qualified leads, like that. Everything else is secondary. you know be you Of course everyone wants to be profitable, and you don't run yourself to the risk of going out of business, of course,
Yeah,
but sacrifice profit for investment on qualified leads, true qualified leads. And there's a whole
yeah.
podcast probably in discussion we can do around qualified leads, but
Yes,
but
there
get
is.
but those qualified leads. Yeah.
Yeah. I love it. Where can people connect with you, Joe?
They could connect with me at Intellatrex.com. That's with one L. My email is joemac@Intellatrex.com. You can reach out to me directly, and my LinkedIn, it's very long, so you guys will see it here, and it'll be available to you. But you can also reach out to me on LinkedIn.
Yeah, we'll pop that in the show notes as well. But Joe, I really appreciate you taking the time and sharing your experience and learning lessons along the way. Those of you that are watching, listening, appreciate you as well. If you want to connect with us, you can do it at rialtomarketing.com. That's RIAOTO marketing.com. We help clients build their marketing engine, right? Escape that marketing maze that they're stuck in by building an engine that helps them stop guessing and actually start growing. If you want to know the health of your engine, you can do that over at marketingengescorecard.com. Takes less than 2 minutes. Head over there. You'll get a customized report. Super helpful. And appreciate you. Until next time, take care.